Vitiligo is a rare skin condition. Those suffering from the commonly misunderstood disease are often stigmatized and isolated. I spoke to Mr. David Ogutu, who is the team lead at Kafunda Creative, about the complexities of living with the disease. I started by asking him how and when he first realized he had the disease, and this is what he had to say.
This may be 8 to 10 years ago. I was dating someone at the time, and they said, hey, there's this part of your body that you haven't seen, but it's like, looking different. And so I was just like, okay. And I never really gave it much thought. I was in art school at the time. And of course, over time, I've learned that stress is a big trigger for how it spreads. And in around my third year of art school, I went through a really stressful period. And that's when I started to see it in other places. And I was just like, that thing, it's spreading here, it's spreading there. But still, it wasn't that much. So it did not bother me a lot at the time.
It didn't bother you, but did it bother the people around you? So, for example, you are in that relationship. How did that discovery of the disease and also the spreading, because you look different at one point and then the patches are spreading all over your body, how did that impact the relationship? Our
generation, even when not armed with all the information, we're a lot more open to various, I want to say, types of people, because I mean that's where the sort of openness would fall, and we're a lot more open to that, and we're a lot more welcoming, and we're a lot more patient in understanding. Unlike our parents and their parents' who slid straight into some form of superstition. There's been concern from my friends, concern from the person I'm married to now. At one point, can we try and treat and stuff like that? And so there's concern, and there's concern for just the kind of effect it can have on my life, because if you read articles for like, it can be a bit easier for you to get skin cancer if you have vitiligo.
Let's stick with the immediate family and the impact a little bit more. Now, I listened to your podcast, and you did an episode that you called Let's Talk About Vitiligo, Baby, and you featured your dear wife on the podcast. And one of the things that you talk about is how the friends reacted and all of that. And thank you so much for raising that kind of awareness with your platform, by the way. But my question would be the children, because you're a father, and to a boy and a girl, to two.
Yes.
What do you tell them? I know you have to go visit your son at school and drop your daughter at school, and I can imagine their friends are asking them, why does your father look like that? What do you tell your children?
I make sure that I explain to my kids in the simplest way possible what's happening. And for people who don't know what vitiligo is, outside all the superstitions and stuff like that, it is just simply an autoimmune disease. Simply put, what's happening to your body is that your white blood cells are looking at your melanin as something that could cause you disease or could cause you harm, and therefore they're battling it. It falls in the same group of diseases, for example, like alopecia that Jada Pinkett Smith was suffering from when she started to lose her hair, and a couple of other conditions where your body just starts to fight things that should be occurring naturally, because for some reason it thinks that those things are going to make you sick. Now, of course, there are a lot of superstitions that come with that, and depending on what community you're in. And so I make sure that I explain to my children, so if anyone comes with these other theories, they can be able to be armed with the information and support them. So my son is 13, so he can understand the more complex thing around white blood cells, for example. So my daughter is a simple explanation of, she watches this cartoon where the white blood cells are bunnies, and they're fighting against these germs, and they need medicine as shields and stuff like that. And therefore, you explain to her, look, the white bunnies in my body think that I don't say melanin, I say ink, right? So I say melanin, but I go and break it down that it's the thing that makes
In
us
a way she
dark. And
understands,
think
yes.
that, yes. So and it's making it. They think it will make me sick, and therefore that's what happens. But oftentimes, I don't think my daughter has the level of explaining that. So oftentimes, when I go to drop her and I see a curious kid, I make sure that I take the time off to try and give a simple explanation, so that my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old daughter, sorry, does not have the level of trying to explain to them what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about work. You
Yes.
were on TV before the spread, and
Yes.
we don't see you on TV anymore.
I mean, one of the things that really took a hit for me, I mean, now I'm more mature and I've come to terms with it. But when it started to spread, especially in areas that can be seen, um, was my worry that I would lose a television career. Now, of course, if you've been in TV and if you've done screen tests, you know that even with all the evolution in the world, TV audiences have certain expectations of what they want to see on their television.
Yes.
And therefore, the people who are doing screen tests are also going to be very sensitive to that, because TV is only important if there are eyeballs behind it. And I did not leave TV because of vitiligo. I left TV because I needed to pursue other opportunities. But of course, re-entry always has that burden of, okay, no, you want to go back in television, but do you have the face for television anymore?
If there's anything you could tell our audience in terms of what you have learned during this journey that you have walked and you are still walking, what would that be? Conditions
like this, and of course there are a lot of other people who have different conditions, but conditions like this do not make you any less of a person. They don't make you any less talented. They don't make you any less brilliant. And it's always important to get to a point where, one, you allow yourself to grieve the things that you might be losing by things like this, and you go through the process of healing and comfort. But also that you find a place where you discover you, and discover that you is not made up by your hair or the color of your skin. It's made up by the substance of who you are as a person.